Hi guys, I'm Daniel Bergman. You're watching the Vision Fly Fishing YouTube channel. And today we're gonna do some basic nymphing methods. Just quickly go through what you could do with like your regular 9-foot 5-weight rod. And then further on we'll move on to a longer stick, a 10-foot 4, and try some basic Euro nymphing stuff. And we're up in Shonayok. This is a beautiful place. The particular stream here is Tyvek, and it's full of big nice grayling. So let's head out. So the idea with this little film is not a in-depth nymphing video. It's just for the regular guy who mainly fish dry flies usually. But you know, sometimes the fish won't rise, and then you still want to catch fish. So it's a good thing to actually master at least the basics of nymph fishing. So I'm gonna start off with a classical nymph, a gold-ribbed hair's-ear. With a little gold head, and I'm gonna use it on this is like a same dry fly leader as I use when I fish dry flies. It's just a 9-foot leader with a meter of tippet and a fly in the end. And what I do is I try to free drift the nymph when I cast it out, and have a close look at the tip of my line. To see if it stops, or also keep a little bit of tension while you're drifting. Then you can almost always feel the strikes as well. Just give it a little bit of an upstream bend so you get it to free drift, and look at your lead or at the end of your fly line and keep a little bit of tension. And when you come further down below you, you can give it a bend and just start slowly retrieving it. I usually do like a hand twist to give it a little jerky, bug-like movement. When you're standing in the same place for some time, they can actually gather underneath you, because you kick up a lot of food when you stand on the bottom. When you sort of think that your fly is in front of a good spot and it comes free drifting towards it, you can actually just do a little lift with the rod tip, or just a little pull in the line. That's a classic technique called the lightning rings lift. And that sometimes can be really good. It can imitate a rising insect on the surface, or below the surface, I meant, sorry. Up. I just did a little. I saw that the fly was just in front of a stone, so I just made a little lift, and then I let it free drift towards the stone again. And that worked. Oh, crazy strong, super fun. Oh, come on now. Okay, let's see if we can get its head up. Oh, yay. Come on. Ah, that's a solid fish. Lovely. There we go. Hooked well, even on the barbless hook. Oh, let's have a look at you. Beauty. Around 40, just over 40 centimeters, I would think. Super fun. I have to say that the free drifting, watching your line tip is a little bit hard because we have quite a lot of wind today. But then there are a couple of excellent accessories to help you out with this. These are small bobbers that you just place on your leader. This is one size, quite big, suitable in rougher water if you're casting far. And then you have some much smaller ones. So I measure out how far from the floater or how deep I want the fly to fish. And you have like a silicone cord in here. I place the leader in the floater and I stretch the silicone and put it back in the crease. And that way you sort of lock the bobber on the leader. And it's not super locked, you can actually pull this up and down, but after a while it tends to glide a little bit too easy, so then you can just put the leader one turn around the bobber and then it stays in place. Okay, let's give this a go. I have like 70 centimeters below the bobber. It's pretty amazing. I was fishing same pattern, pheasant tail with copper head. So I just changed to one, same size everything, but with an orange head, and bam bam. Thank you, man. It's pretty cool. It's really, actually, it's fun, this kind of fishing. It's almost like dry fly fishing. You're watching that floater drift down and watching for it to stop or go to the side or dive. It's really visual. Oh, look at that fish in the water. Oh, there's two. Oh, there's another nice one there. We actually had two really nice fish swim in here in the deep hole in front of us. So as soon as I was ready, I just lobbed it out, and one of them took straight away, it seems like. Oh, come on. Ah, lovely. That was so cool. It was just casually backing down in the deep hole where we were standing. Look at that. We'll let you go back. I put on one of these yarn indicators instead, which I actually prefer to the foam ones, because these dive much better. They float really well, you see them well, but they don't give so much resistance when the fish take the fly. So if they like spit, they can take it again more likely than with the foam versions. So you have it in orange. You have orange and white yarn in the package. Vision strike indicator. And it's also really easy to move if you want that, or remove if you get a lot of fish rising around you. Just remove it and put on a dry fly. Super simple. Just you pull this little rubber hose off and then pull everything off. When the yarn is brand new, it floats really well. It's treated with a floatant from beforehand. Just putting on a nymph and maybe an indicator can be a really good complement to dry fly fishing if the fish don't rise, or if they stop rising, or you simply want to try something different. When fishing with nymphs, like having a perfect imitation of the exact insect is usually not such a big deal, but it's really good to know about the sort of different insect groups at least, or the main groups of nymphs we're trying to imitate, and the main groups that the fish actually eat, because they live on the bottom, and sometimes they lose their grip in the stream and drift down. But also, when they're about to hatch, they swim from the bottom up to the surface. Some of the insects actually, they can live up to 3 years on the bottom, and during the lifespan they will definitely lose grip and drift down the stream towards a hungry fish sometime. Of course not all of them, but we can have a look here. We're in a quite shallow part here. Let's see if I can find some bugs. Just stick my hand down and see if I can find a good rock. Oh, here we have a house for a cased caddis. Doesn't look like anybody's home anymore, so he probably crawled out of there. Here you can see a caddis larva crawling on my pinky finger, quite green. And here on my pointing finger I actually have a mayfly nymph. I think it's some sort of stone clinger. It looks quite wide. So there were quite a lot of them, and then there's a lot of small, probably small caddis larvae as well on the ring finger. So there you see how many different insects there can be on just one stone in the stream. And they're usually like two main colors, I would say. Green, varying from like olive green to bright green. And then you have some species that are more cream colored back body. So most of the caddis larvae I have in my box are those two colors. Okay, let's give them to the fish instead. Now we have switched to the Euro nymphing setup, and I have a 10-foot 4-weight hero rod. You can actually use your 9-foot rod, but it helps to have a slightly longer rod with a sensitive tip, both to be able to sort of feel the strikes and steer the fly in the current. But it's also a good thing to protect your tippet. If you want to have like a thinner tippet, a rod with a soft tip really helps when fighting bigger fish. It protects the tippet so it doesn't break. Okay, I think now we are ready to try. Found a deep, nice hole just outside here. We'll see if this fly is sort of heavy enough to get down. I just cast slightly upstream and I try to keep the tension on my line and follow the fly as it drifts down. And as soon as the fly hits the bottom, just lift your rod tip up and start following, and there we have a fish. As soon as it stops, you just strike. It might be bottom, but it might also be fish. Just gonna quickly show you the leader and the tippet. Here we have the fly, pheasant tail nymph with a 4mm tungsten bead, 60 centimeters of 0.15 fluorocarbon, and then I have my indicator leader that is like 1.5 meter or something of Nymph Maniac tippet. I think I have 0.20 just to be able to see it really easily. Even though the casting is quite easy, it's quite important that you place the flies where you want it. And since you don't really have any back cast, you still need to place your cast in a parallel line to where where you want your fly to go. Same. It's the same basic principles as any fly casting. Up. Okay, that's where they went. This is a smaller fish. And the fly is out. Lovely little grayling. Sometimes fishing can actually seem too easy. As I mentioned before, I'm only using one fly, and that is for two different reasons. First off, to show you that it can do a really easy rig and just get started. But the second thing is that the abundance of grayling in this river is so ridiculous. So I would very likely, if I fished a dropper, get 2 fish on the same rig, which could actually, it's not a good thing for the fish. Almost feels a little bit irresponsible. Especially in America, it's called tight line nymphing, which is actually a good name. It's because you're always trying to keep tension on the line, so you have a good connection to your fly and can really feel and see the strikes. Another name is high sticking, which is also an appropriate name because you're holding your rod tip up quite high just to be able to have a straight line between your fly and your rod tip. To avoid any drag. Who's playing who? Beautiful fish. Have a look at that. What a beauty with that fin and the colors of the north. Amazing. This place, Shornajoki, it's just amazing. The grayling fishing is probably some of the best in the world. I feel humbled. So fun, so cool. And try some nymph fishing. Thanks guys.